Theorem. My name's Theorem.
Nice try, Chuck. What's all the hubbub?
Boss wants us to grab someone up.
Someone? Anyone? Who you grabbing?
Some girls. I mean, I'm not grabbing girls. Other than those ones, I guess.
Focus. Who are they? Why wasn't I invited to the party?
And I don't know. They got in a fight with Zavika. They did a number on her.
Oh, really? Which number?
It's like a saying.
You're doing great, Chuck. Here, for your troubles.
If you told me like 2-3 years ago when I was first starting to take cosplay seriously that I would be putting nearly 3 weeks of work into a League of Legends character, I wouldn't believe you. But here we are. I just finished Arcane not too long ago, and it is definitely one of my favorite shows of all time now. And like the art style, the music, the story, everything's fantastic. Like every single character looks good, is written well. But of course, like a lot of people, I was immediately drawn to JINX and her chaos and her heart-wrenching backstory, and I just knew right away that I had to cosplay her. However, a lot of the materials that are required for a cosplay of like that level of design are really, really expensive. So I had the genius idea of making the majority of this myself, and all in all I only spent about $25 on this cosplay because I mostly used things that I had around the house and painted and cut and sewed and styled. And so yeah, I think we should get right into it and show you how insanely hard but worth it this project was. Let's go. I started by making the top out of an old shirt that I had and some elastic that looked like the ribbons that JINX has around her chest. First, I marked with a white marker where I wanted the bottom to be cut off, and then my camera didn't pick up any of the footage of me sewing. So just take my word for it, it was painful. I did, however, get this clip of me trying it on for the first time, and I was so relieved that it stayed together. I was worried because of the stretchiness of the fabric and the elastic that it would fall apart, but it didn't. Then I cut off the legs of these leggings so they had a more jagged, uneven angle going on at the bottom, and I used the cut off part to create the gauntlet around her arm. Fit pretty well. I painted it using some purple magenta-ish acrylic paint that I just happened to have. This also I kind of used as a test because I was going to paint the pants later as well. It took a while, about 2 layers for every single stripe. It was tedious, but it was worth it because it actually didn't stretch out that much. I was worried that the paint was going to crack because it is acrylic and it dries very solidly. Also, I did not have fingerless gloves on hand when I started working on this project and ended up having to order those from Amazon. And I really do love the pair that I got. I'll show them off later. To keep the cut edges from flipping up as I was working, I used a piece of cardboard and painted down onto that. It helped keep them in place and made them look a little more even. These took I think 30 minutes per coat because there were so many stripes and a lot more ground to cover. This is where I was starting to get really sick of painting. I also had the idea to make, a belt out of the extra fabric that I had, but I gave up and used a completely different shirt and wrapped it around my waist. You can see here that I'm also adding pink stripes. I'm pretty sure they're gold in the animation, but I thought the pink would be nicer. In hindsight, however, I do regret it because this paint did not want to behave like paint. I don't know if it wasn't mixed well, but as you can see here, it was very faded and even after 2-3 layers just did not show up correctly. However, my mantra for this project is, if it's messy, it's JINX. I do need to stop for a moment and talk about how much I despised working with this wig. Oh boy. Wigs of the length, color, and style of JINX's hair on like professional sites like Arda and Epic Cosplay usually run for $65 to $80. And like I said, I didn't want to spend a lot on this. So when I want a cheap wig that is somewhat decent to style, I use an Amazon seller under the name of Map of Beauty, I think. And yeah, most of the time they're good quality, they're somewhat heat resistant, and they're comfortable to wear. This one, however, this absolute nightmare of a wig was 3 feet long, too heavy to be freestanding, and was curled at the end. You can imagine how many difficulties this caused me. I had to both pin it to the head and hold it with my hand just to get it to stay still in this clip. To treat it, I brushed it out, and I also sprayed it with this diluted fabric softener solution that I looked up how to make on the internet. I started by spritzing sections of hair and brushing it out to detangle it, and of course, as I was working, this happened multiple times. And it was very frustrating because I don't have a tripod for my wigs. And then I began the grueling process of braiding. The attempt that you see here is 1 out of like 5. Every time I braided this, it kept twisting and turning and becoming super duper uneven. It took me God knows how long until I decided to wash it in hot water to get rid of some of the curls and then condition it a little and try braiding it again. That time, it worked just fine. It's almost like taking care of your wigs makes them easier to style or something. Some frizz was unavoidable, as you can see here. Even the best braids is going to have a little bit of fallout. So I made JINX's hair accessories out of a paper towel roll and cut it down to size to fit over top of the braids. You can see here that I covered all of the parts that I did not want people to see. And then I did the bangs. I sectioned it out, teased it in multiple layers, and then hairsprayed it so it would stay in an upright position. This was the only part that was somewhat easy for me because I've used this technique on multiple wigs before. I did end up having to cut a piece when I put it on my head. But this was the final result, and I'm very, very proud of it, despite all of the trouble that it gave me. Finally, here's me seeing myself in the full cosplay for the first time. Oh my goodness, I was so excited, as you can tell by my posing and happy stimming and insane smile. I was living my best life. I had a grand old time filming in this. It was actually surprisingly comfortable. Like, the only other thing I made that wasn't part of the costume is this little clay hex crystal. We match. If I had to give this an overall grade out of 100, it'd be like an 80. There is clearly a lot of room for improvement on this thing. But considering this is a first try with very little experience, it's not horrible. So I'll call that a win.